Hello and welcome to Space Shark Teaches. I'm Sean, owner and lead developer of Space Shark Studios, and in this series we're going to be teaching Godot. In this lesson we're going to be wrapping up jumping and gravity using the current physics system. So, as we left off last time, gravity happens way too fast, so let's go ahead and turn that down to something more manageable. We want it to kind of drift down and then jump down as well. So there. So jump kind of works, and if you notice, the longer you sit on something, or just over time, gravity gets higher and higher and higher. We don't want that. Before, we used reset movement to keep the velocity to the left and right from increasing every cycle. We did that by saying, all right, set the left and right to 0 in the case that, well, it's a new round. But we don't want to do that for y, because if we do, say, set y to 0, this will make movement velocity 0 every time. Well, now we have it falling very slowly. Even if we turn it up and then turn this up, we can't jump anymore. So neither one of those is a valid solution. So we will continue having gravity, but we need to make it not continue increasing over time. And we're going to do that in gravity. So let's think about when gravity normally interacts. When you're on the ground, you're not falling, so you shouldn't fall faster. So let's say you're jumping out of an airplane. You're going to go faster and faster and faster the longer you're in the air. But when you hit the ground, you stop. Next time you take a step, you're not going to continue going as fast as the last time you were in the air. So let's go ahead and use that logic, as dark as it is, to say if I am on the floor, let's go ahead and move these out here. If I am not on the floor, which means I am in the air, go ahead and add gravity. So let's see what happens this time. So that's getting closer. The problem is, the longer you're in the air, the faster you get, and it doesn't reset. So that's not 100% of the way there. What do we want it to be if we are sitting on the ground? We want some gravity to lock you onto the ground, but we don't want it to continually be going up. So how have we done that in the past? Well, we reset movement by saying, let's multiply it by this 0, 1, and then set it. So let's say we have our current movement speed, or movement velocity. We have a new vector 2, which we say we want to continue the left-right movement we have, but set to 0 the current velocity, right? We multiply those together, and that will get us our current left-right movement. And that's fine. So that's what we want. And then we would go ahead and hold down Control. If true, we would set it to that. However, like I said, we don't have any downward velocity now. We want at very least this constructed velocity, right? We want this gravity vector. So what we can do is, just as we're adding it here, we can add and then set that. So what this does is it says, I want to take this movement velocity, I just want to get the left-right movement, and then I want to add just a general gravity vector going down. That way we always have a little bit of gravity. Let's see if this works. That looks like it's right. And if you notice, that also lets us jump. So in the last episode, or last lesson, sorry, I talked about how this ordering is very important. If we decided that we want gravity last, or I guess before movement, and moved everything over like this, it would cause problems. And I'll show you why. We fall. We can't jump anymore. Now, why is that? It's because jump, as you can see, is setting or is adding to this movement velocity, making it go up, right? So we're setting the movement velocity and adding whatever this jump speed is. We're then going into gravity, but we're only doing that if we're on the ground. We're then going into gravity and saying, oh, we're on the floor. Remove any upward or downward velocity, which we had just added with jump, and then add gravity. So technically we are jumping, we are adding jump, and then we're removing it. And that's not good. So that is why ordering and knowing which order everything is happening in is so important. So we're calling gravity first, right after we reset the movement, so that we don't accidentally, actually we can do it like this to make it more explicit. So we're resetting the left-right movement, then we're calling gravity, which resets its up-down movement, and then jumping, which adds the up-down movement again. And then we're calling movement, which will actually cause the player to move. And so that is how you put it all together. We can now have a platformer. And now it's just as easy as, let's go ahead and move these down. This is also why making sure that everything you make is nicer looking is important and fits. So, for example, if we say we want the scale on these to be 1 by 1, and then we delete everything else in here, we can now say, all right, Control D to duplicate, Control D, Control D, that sort of thing. And now we have these nice squares that we know the height of. And so when we go through and start having jump, we can now control the jump height so that the player can always get onto them. And that's it. We've moved our little cubes around. We have the building blocks to make a platforming game. And you just made all the code by yourself. Moving left, right, resetting, making your own variables and setting them, as well as making them accessible to other people who might help make the game with you. So good job. After this, we'll be adding some interactions and scorekeeping, but for now, you can go ahead and start building out your levels, figuring out how much you want gravity and speed and jump and all of that to be, and you can just start trying stuff on your own. Good job. That's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching, and this has been Sean with Space Shark Teaches.